We're live.
All right. Welcome on back. Another episode of Barstool Backdoor Cuts. As always, I am your host, Reags. I got Dukes here with me today. Just a reminder for those that might not have been here the first two episodes, it's going to be about a 30-minute show. Each episode kind of talking about our best bet for the day, running through the top games, and then any chat questions you have. We'll mix in some other things too. I have an unpopular opinion a day because I am told I am a complainer, and I got to let it out somewhere besides the blog, so I'm letting it out here. Dukes, today feels like college basketball is really starting, though. I don't know what it is. It's. I think it's because the Champions Classic, right? Like, I got so used to having the Champions Classic on opening night, and I want to touch on this to start. I just wrote a blog about this. There are a lot of college basketball teams that stink this year. And I'm not talking the Ooey Pooies, the Chicago State Game of the Year from last night. I'm talking teams that people thought would be good. The TCUs of the world, Florida State. I think I had them top 40 in my preseason rankings. A lot of people had them as like a sneaky ACC team. Both of them stink. Louisville stinks. And it's not like they're losing to good teams. TCU has played three of the worst 25 teams in the country. Barely survived Arkansas Pine Bluff, beat Lamar by 11, and just lost to Northwestern State. Those games were at home, and I know they didn't have Mike Miles and Damian Ball. You don't lose to those teams when you're like a top 15 team in the country, like everyone kind of thought they were. And what I want to say about that, and I know UNC has not lost, and people will say I'm hating on UNC. Do they look like the number one team in the country?
No, it's the same. It's also like it's the Creightons, it's the TCUs, it's the UNCs. Like, look, I said it episode number 1 that we had it. Like, UNC is a top 15 in the country, and that means that they're a really good basketball team.
Yep.
Are they a top 5 team in the country? No, this is just like UCLA last year. I don't think that's necessarily a hot take. Like we said, like filling in the shoes for Brady Manek isn't necessarily gonna be easy. Like, talent just doesn't replace him alone. The things, the intangibles that he brought into that locker room, the leadership that he brought, his experience at Oklahoma, like you can't really just pick that back up and just like have Nance fill in for him like that. So I think UNC right now, any game that they play, they're on upset alert.
I agree. And I mean, they've won, but they haven't looked good against UNC Wilmington and Charleston.
Yeah, who are two teams that I like, by the way, too.
Yeah, I like Charleston a lot. Like, I think Kelsey's a hell of a coach. I loved him at Winthrop. I actually have a long history with the Kelsey family, so I am a little partial to him. But he runs like that up-tempo style. They're fun to watch. He was a ton of fun at Winthrop. But it's like, it's Charleston. You're UNC. You don't lose that game. You don't play that game close. Mm-hmm. Something's not right. And it's part of it goes back to last year, the inconsistency from guard play. They need Davis and Love to be way more consistent. Nance, like, yeah, he's really good. He was really good at Northwestern, a team that sucks. Like, sometimes there are empty stats. And I'm not saying Nance is necessarily an empty stat guy, but he played for Northwestern. So it's like, I take that with a little bit of grain of salt, where at least Manek made the NCAA tournament at Oklahoma. Right?
Yeah, like, a good team.
Yeah, at least he played with Trae Young. Like, he kind of has a little bit of history of success. I think there are like 8 good teams in college basketball this year. Maybe 10. Which, on one side, happens kind of every year, right? Like, as the season goes on, we're like, all right, tier 1, tier 2, there's like 10 teams, 12 teams. What it makes for, though, is a potential wild-ass NCAA tournament, which is what everybody wants. And we've seen it the last couple of years. Obviously, St. Peter's, Oral Rock. Like, there's been a bunch of runs. And I'm not saying a 15 seed is going to make a run this year, but if there are, like, let's say we agree there's 10 teams that are good come March. And when I mean good, I mean they can win 5 to 6 games in March to get to a title game or win a title. We could see a 6 seed in the Elite 8. We could see a 7 seed in the Elite 8. We could see a 10 seed in the Elite 8. I'm not going to be surprised by that anymore, which is awesome for the casual fan because they like Cinderellas. Now, if the 10 seeds, like, I'm just throwing out a name, like NC State, then yeah, it's not going to really move the needle. No offense to Quigs, but like NC State's the most like their team in the country. right? Like they're
the Jimmy V years. They won national championships. They got a pretty good history.
Yeah, they do, but it's like
I'm sure that fan base would get up though. I bet you that there's a.
But I'm saying the country as a whole, right?
Yes,
like the country as a whole got up for Max Asmus. The country as a whole, and O'Banner. The country as a whole got up for St. Peter's. Like the country as a whole got up for George Mason, VC. Like run through the teams that have made these runs.
I think the country likes those stories, but I don't necessarily believe that they tune in for those stories. Do you know what I'm saying?
Stats say otherwise. St. Peter's UNC was one of the most watched college basketball games, one of the most watched games of like recent history.
All right, but I don't know. I just don't.
I
think St. Peter's makes the Final Four. I'm not sure how many people are tuning in compared to a Duke being in the Final Four.
I've made that argument before, and people get pissed at me for it. Where we love upsets, but we don't want upsets after the first weekend. Like what was better, the 2015 Final Four or last year's Final Four, where we had 4 like established programs, or watching Loyola get their shit kicked in by Michigan?
Yeah,
or those runs, watching George Mason in 06. Like the VCU Butler game was one of the ugliest games in college basketball history.
Yeah, I mean, I think this year is going to be ugly, and I'm going out on a whim on this, but like this is the year of the mid-major. Like a mid-major will win the national championship this year. I know it for a fact. There's 5 teams right now that have probably looked like probably some of the most consistent teams in the country. Like I think that right now, like my picks would be like you're looking at Houston, Gonzaga, like those count as mid-majors.
They're not mid-majors.
Yeah, but
they're not mid-majors.
That counts as a mid-major championship. Like
they're not mid-majors.
Yeah, but that counts as a mid-major championship.
I'm not.
I'm not Power 5. Yeah, but you have to. It doesn't matter.
Why? Because they're not Power 5. I mean,
yeah, they're not Power 5, so they're considered mid-majors. Like it doesn't matter what like a hardcore college basketball fan thinks. Like those would be considered a mid-major winning the national championship.
So does UConn count in 14 as a mid-major championship?
No, because they went from Power 5. And also, like, when you consider, like, their Big East roots, like, the Big East doesn't count as, like, there's really 6 conferences. Like, a Big East isn't a mid-major, but, like, the AAC right now is a mid-major conference.
I don't know. I have a hard time calling Houston and Gonzaga mid-majors, but
that's fine, but, like, they're mid-majors. And, like, if you're going to – and then you got looking at San Diego State's, the Daytons. Like, you could also see a team like St. Louis or VCU making a run in the tournament as one of the lower seeds. So, like, I really think that this is the year where shit's gonna pop off in the tournament.
I wouldn't be surprised by it. I mean, it is like you look at the power conferences, the Pac-12. I mean, they stink outside of UCLA and Arizona. You look at the ACC, they stink outside the top. The Big 12 is good. The SEC, I mean, Florida lost to Florida Atlantic at home last night. So I agree. Like in the Big East, like we'll see how that happens. Villanova hasn't looked right, but Whitmore and Moore are supposed to come back at some point. But what's on the flip side, the Blue Bloods, which is we'll get into it. We'll start here. I see that Brendan Mills is asking about the Duke-Kansas game. We're going to talk about the Champions Classic. Obviously, it is, I would say outside of like the tournaments, and I'm not talking NCAA tournament, outside of Maui, Atlantis, the ones that we know during like Feast Week, Champions Classic is kind of like, pinnacle is not the right word, but it's the start of the college basketball season. It used to be opening night. It got pushed back this year. You have 4 programs that everybody knows, the casual fan's going to watch. Duke, Michigan State, Kentucky, Michigan State, the opener. Duke, Kansas, the second game today. We'll go in order. We'll start with Kentucky, Michigan State. Obviously, I got my cat stuff on. I am a Kentucky grad. This week scares me a little bit for 2 reasons. Kentucky has 3 games. They have Michigan State tonight in Indianapolis, mid-major on Thursday or Friday.
South Carolina State
on Friday. And then they go to Spokane on Sunday against Gonzaga. If they run this week, I'm terrified of how high my hopes for this team are getting. I think they're championship good, but if they run through this week and they look really good, and let's say they beat Michigan State by double digits and Gonzaga by 6 or 7, I'm sitting there going, okay, are we hands down the number 1 team in the country? Do we pass Houston and Baylor with ease? I'm also scared because 0-2 is a possibility. or the split where I just go, I don't know. They feel like the fourth best team in the country still. Tonight's game. Go ahead.
I think when last time you were in the office, I said I think Kentucky right now I think they're Final Four good, championship good, and I think they're going to put a beat down on Michigan State. The Gonzaga game, I'm not so sure about because I don't know how much to really take in that ship game.
You can't really take much out of it.
I can't take much out of it, but I do think that Kentucky is legit good.
I agree. And part of the reason why is I think they're the deepest team in the country, right? Like they haven't had Oscar. They haven't had Damian Collins. Wheeler just came back through the first couple games of the year. Now, again, it was Duquesne, it was Hampton or Howard, but Oscar is going to play tonight. Every report says he's going to play. Here's my fear as a Kentucky fan with Oscar coming back for this game. Report is he's going to play like 3 to 4 minute spurts, depending on how he feels. But that's the plan. 3 to 4 minute spurts, get a break. 3 to 4 minute spurt, get a break. How much are they going to try to jam the ball into him when the offense has kind of been better with Frederick and Reaves, and you have Wallace driving. You have Wheeler came in and dropped 11 and 11 again against Duquesne, but came in and dropped 11 and 11. They're kind of at their best with this roster when you have two elite shooters in Frederick and Reaves of driving, kick. It's the old dribble drive offense, right? Mm-hmm. It's drive, kick, find the open guy. Frederick can shoot, Reaves can shoot, Toppin can make a play, Livingston, Wallace can make a play, and then you have the bigs to clean up. With Oscar, my fear is they're going to jam the ball into him. And the one matchup that I think is the best for Michigan State is Matty Sissoko on Oscar. Sissoko's a hell of a defender.
Agreed.
You can get him in foul trouble. If you get him, and we saw that against Gonzaga. They just kept feeding Timmy. Sissoko in foul trouble. Gonzaga makes the run to win. If Oscar's only playing 3 to 4 minutes, though, Sissoko can kind of avoid foul trouble by Izzo just matching that up. So that's my fear and why I'm like somewhat interested in the under in this game. Now, again, I hate betting Kentucky games. I try to stay away from them as much as I can. But the under is 141 on the Barstool Sportsbook right now. I do think you could see kind of an ugly start. I don't trust Michigan State's offense. Kentucky's really good defensively. I think if Sissoko matches up against Oscar and doesn't get in foul trouble, you could see kind of and we've seen in the Champions Classic a lot, like a 68-61 type game.
Yeah, I'm taking my side in this game is Kentucky -6.
Makes sense.
I'm high on Kentucky going into this year. I stopped you in the office and I was like, I think that they're going to come back in a big way this year. I said I have them in my Final Four. I love the Toppin family, and I just think that Kentucky's really going to show that they're.
Can Jacob Toppin learn how to shoot? Because I'm really sick of every year. Jacob Toppin, breakout player. He's been in the gym, and then he just clanks free throws and threes. I love Jacob Toppin. Listen, he is the prototypical college basketball player. He's made great improvements, but from what he was at Rhode Island to what he is now.
Yeah. But
my man, go shoot 1,000 free throws a day because I can't watch you hit him off the back of the rim anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he's a necessary player for Kentucky, and I consider him probably not the best player, not the most talented for sure, but maybe the most important. What he can do on the defensive end, I'm not so sure that anyone else can bring to the table for you guys.
I think Livingston can bring that. Now, the key is Calipari, and this is, again, my fear, is Jacob Toppin's made to be a college basketball 4. He's not a 3. And the best lineups, and we saw Kentucky run this last game, is some sort of guard combo of Wallace, Frederick, Reaves, and then Toppin or Livingston at the 4, and then you either have Collins, Shibwe, Ware, Ugo at the 5. That's their best lineup and most versatile lineup. So if my fear is Calipari is going to run Toppin at the 3, Collins at the 4, Oscar at the 5, and then it gets bogged down, especially if Wheeler's out there. So again, that's where I kind of look at the under here. We know Michigan State's going to get back in transition. We know they don't want to. We know they don't want to run as much. They'll run to start and then pull it out and try to run defense. My question for Michigan State fans, and I don't know if we have any in the chat, Who the hell is Joey Hauser guard?
Dude, I think he's the definition of just running around out there. That's why I think that Michigan State's offense isn't very good. I like their guard play personally. I like Tyson Walker. I like Hoggard. Yeah. So I like their guard play, but mostly who is Hauser going to guard? I think that Kentucky is just going to, pound it in the post, pound it with their big men, and then you try to close in on them, kick it out to Frederick. I don't know. I just see Kentucky winning this big. I'm not impressed with Michigan State necessarily. I think they're a team that's going to get better as the season goes on, but in the Champions Classic, I'm taking Kentucky with the points. Also, let me just say something really quick. There's no reason for Michigan State to be in the Champions Classic. They got to give that seat up to UNC, Nova, UCLA,
well, you can't give it
UConn.
up.
I'm just saying Michigan State has no
UNC.
fucking business being at that.
I agree, but you can't give it up to UNC because then we would never see Duke would it would be like the old Crossroads Classic.
Fine, go to UConn. Go to UConn. UConn's way more deserving of this. UConn's more deserving than Nova. Or people just want to pretend like UConn hasn't won 5 national championships since '96.
4.
Yeah, but still, right?
UConn was also so down for so long, and I know
they won AAC.
So
they won, and just like your point before, they won a championship in 2014. That's less than 10 years ago.
I know, but I would say that fine, put UConn in there. I would rather see Nova in there, or I'm trying to think who else. I love that it's Duke, Kansas, and there's not another Big Ten team you can put in there.
No,
you're not putting Indiana in there. You're not putting. There's no other team. No one else has won titles out of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
You're not putting Michigan in there. You're 1989, whatever. Congrats. Yeah, I agree. It is weird, but it is Michigan State. Everyone knows Izzo. Everyone knows that. So I don't know. Who is it? James Patrick said, take the last 8 years and rotate them. I disagree. I do like knowing the 4 teams that are in the Champions Classic every year. What I want to do is bring back the Grade 8. So the Grade 8 Classic, it stopped in the 90s, but what it was the Elite 8 teams from a year ago all played. Set it up, bring that back. Imagine a day where it's Madison Square Garden or even split into 2, right? Play Madison Square Garden and
United,
wherever else in Indianapolis or Chicago, and you have 4 games all day, back to back to back, or I guess it'd be 2 games back to back. Shit, run it at 1 then. Run 4 games, all in one arena, all at Madison Square Garden, 4 games, and have matchup based on conferences, but bring back the Elite 8 from last year. Everyone agrees, hey, we're leaving November 20th on the schedule alone because we're going to Madison Square Garden. We'll find out who we're playing from the previous Elite 8. Bring that back.
I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, imagine some of the games we would get. That's how you help fix college basketball scheduling when it's early on, where, the Barstool Invitational was awesome. We had the ship game. Other than that, there hasn't been a marquee game.
Yeah.
Until tonight, which you can't have that. Craig said, UCLA, no titles recently, but back on the rise. Nah, UCLA and Kentucky are also already in the CBS Sports Classic. So then you would eliminate that. I don't know. I would say, give me one of the Big East teams. Give me UConn or Nova.
You want to talk about Duke and Kansas?
Yeah, I am fascinated by this game. Kansas, no Bill Self, still serving that 4-game suspension because the FBI, they have college basketball's playbook. That's how you have to get people punished is a 4-game suspension. Who cares about lifetime contracts, millions of dollars, national championship? 4-game suspension is worth it. So you have Kansas with no Bill Self. You have Duke with all these freshmen. And listen, the freshmen look good, but now you're on the first big stage away from Cameron with a new head coach, John Shire. They had Lively came back. They still don't have Derek Whitehead. I like Filipowski. I find some of these matchups super fascinating in terms of individual matchups within the game, right? Filipowski versus Ernest Uday from Kansas. They're big. You look at like Grady Dick. You look at Jeremy Roach versus the guards. I don't know which way to take here. Like right off the bat, I wanted to take Kansas catching a point, or probably just money line and get a little bit better value. But I don't know about either of these teams. Like I don't trust Kansas. What Jalen Wilson shows up?
Yeah, I know exactly where I'm taking Duke -1. I think these freshmen. I think by the end of the year, we're gonna see top 5 team in the country, maybe top 3. Like that's what I think their ceiling is. I don't know, maybe because people don't want to talk about it, but like I'm not so sold on Kansas right now because just like you said, Jalen Wilson. I've seen the good Jalen Wilson. I've seen the bad Jalen Wilson. He could put up 24 and be the best player on the court, or he could just be a ghost out there. So I'm taking Duke. I really believe in these freshmen. I also like Ryan Young a lot for Duke, who's like the Northwestern transfer. I think he's just a down, get dirty type of player. So, yeah, I'm going to take Duke -1 in this one.
I think the most important player for Duke, and what Brennan Mills said, how much you think missing Whitehead changes Duke team. Also, Lively kind of easing their way back in. Yeah, Lively, he played last game coming back. Whitehead is a game changer because, again, you're talking about top 10 recruit, top 5 recruit. Assuming that he adapts to the college game like most top 5 recruits do, it's a game changer because you add this NBA talent to a group that needs it, right? Like they're not experienced. You can't sit there and be like, oh, they have Jeremy Roach. I don't like Jeremy Roach. And this isn't me being a Duke hater. I just don't like Jeremy Roach's game. He's the experience. Like even like a Jacob Grandison, like the transfers they have, they're not experienced at Duke, which is a whole different level. Like you transfer to Duke, Kentucky, Kansas, UNC, you're in a whole different world than wherever you were before. It's not regular. So yeah, you get Whitehead in there, and it just first off, it adds depth, right? You have a better player coming in. Less better players have to play more minutes. It's kind of common sense here. But I'm torn on this game. If Self was here, I'd probably take Kansas without a doubt because the coaching mismatch of Self for Shire. I don't know though. Like, I'm not sold on either of these teams. I don't know, and I think Duke's most important player is Mitchell. What he does is so versatile. Like he's a decent two-way player. I think he could be the one that wins this game. It's not going to be Roach. It's not going to be Lively. It's not going to be Filipowski. It's not going to be any of those other guys. I kind of think it's Mitchell. And for Kansas, again, you have Grady Dick, which is all-time name. All-time, villain name. That dude should have went to Duke because I was ready to hate him. But, he's top-end NBA talent, McDonald's All-American. What Kansas needs is a guy like Ibaji and Braun from last year who could create their own shot. If Dick can start doing that, which fucking sounds hilarious to say out loud. Yeah. If Dick can start doing that, then Kansas adjusts, and I like Kansas a lot more than the 7th best team in the country. So you're on Duke. I'm leaning Kansas. I hate betting Champions Classic for the most part because usually it's early on and you're trying to figure out these teams, especially the Dukes and the Kentuckys of the world where it's mostly freshmen. But I don't know. I kind of lean Kansas here. I'm curious to see what the line does as the day goes on.
Do you have any other games that you're eyeing down?
So I want to ask you, I'm going to give you a minute to rant. A10 rant. Third best game today, Memphis at St. Louis. Yeah. St. Louis is giving 3, which might throw people off because I think everyone assumed Memphis would be the favorite here. Over under 146.5. I kind of like St. Louis, and I'm not like a St. Louis fan. Again, these teams are kind of whatever, but Yuri Collins versus Kendrick Davis at the point guard matchup is fucking phenomenal. Yeah. Try to take your St. Louis hate out of it, and how do you think of it?
I was just going to say that I really despise St. Louis as a program. I hate their coach. I hate everything about St. Louis, but this is a team that's probably the second best team in the A10 right now. At the end of the year, they could end up being the best. I mean, they got Javonte Perkins back, who's a game changer. I personally don't really like Yuri Collins' game.
Why?
So I think that he's a very good passer. He's a good defender, but I don't really necessarily think he creates his own shot or is that good of a playmaker.
I don't think he has to, though. With Perkins back in a
I
quarter
agree.
there,
And they got Jimerson. They got Jimerson who can knock down the three. Fred Thatch is pretty good, but I'm not the biggest Yuri Collins guy. Like when he was ready to go transfer to the big time, I forget where he was looking to go, but I was like, go, dude, you're not that good. He reminds me a lot of a Fats Russell.
Fats Russell suck.
And that's my exact opinion about Yuri Collins. If Yuri Collins went to a big time program, he would get fucking exposed.
But
everyone
also,
knows him right
I
now
guess it would depend on what his
program.
role is. It would depend on what his role is. His role is to set up other guys. He doesn't have to.
People act like he's a top 5 point guard in the country, which he's not.
I don't think he's top 5, but I would say
people talk about him like he is. He's not the best point guard in the A10 either. That's some information I'll give to you for free.
Well, Ace Baldwin is.
Ace Baldwin might be, but Malachi Smith is.
Yeah. I mean,
Malachi Smith is. Yeah.
I want to see Smith back healthy.
But yeah, I think that I was still going to take St. Louis here. I mean, I don't really necessarily know who Memphis has besides Kendrick Davis that can really match up with St. Louis and what they can do. Javonte Perkins was an A10 player of the year 2 years ago, when Obi Toppin was in the league. He was right in the conversation for it. But he tore his ACL last year, kind of threw them off last year, and he's back now, and I think St. Louis is a dangerous team. The only thing that I really think that right now in the first couple of games I saw that hurt them is their defense. So I'm taking St. Louis with the points here. I don't know where you lean. I think Memphis might end up being a better team, but.
Yeah, so you mentioned who else on Memphis, and I think it's DeAndre Williams, who's 26 fucking years old. He is the captain of my How the Hell Are They Still in College team, him and Kieh Clark. DeAndre Williams is 26 years old and playing college basketball. He's the guy that can do enough with Kendrick Davis to beat St. Louis. But again, I do like St. Louis here, given 3, because they need that win more than Memphis, right? Memphis has better opportunities for better wins, where the A10's better, but you get buried a little bit more, right? Like Memphis has a shot to beat Houston twice. They play them twice. St. Louis, Dayton, VCU, it's good teams, but it's not Houston. So I would probably go St. Louis there too at home. All right, best bet. I am officially 1-1 on the year. I robbed Oster on Friday. He's 0-1. Guests are 0-1. What'd you do in the first night? You won, right?
Yeah, I won. I had Hofstra.
That's right. So you're 1-0. I am going with a trend that seems to be common this year in the first week of college basketball. I'm taking South Alabama plus 12.5 at home against Alabama.
Wow.
They have mid-majors at home are winning these games outright against major programs, right? We saw SWAC teams beat Pac-12 teams. We're seeing upsets happen across the country. You know who South Alabama has? Kelvin Samuel. 7-footer, played at TCU, played at Florida Gulf Coast. Now at South Alabama with Richie Riley. That's a high-level player that can help in a game against high major competition. Also, Alabama plays down to their competition. It's on the road. South Alabama's going to get up for this. What Alabama shows up? Do they hit a bunch of threes? Do they not hit threes? I'm kind of banking that they don't. And also, South Alabama is one of the elite teams in the country at running guys off the three-point line. They're 28th in the country in three-point attempt per field goal attempt, meaning most of your field goals are coming from the 2 line. So South Alabama plus 12.5 at home against Alabama. That's my best bet today.
I'm conflicted in my best bet. I'm not going to be a homer and give out my best bet. But my best bet, I guess, I'll go Wisconsin minus 27.5 against Green Bay. Green Bay is that bad. Green Bay is atrocious. I'm not so sure that they even reach 50 points in this game. I think that Wisconsin's just going to pour it on them. I've watched Green Bay. I think it's a trend. When you see a team that's a high-profile team and you see a team that's I'm saying bottom 15 team in the country, take that spread. They'll pour it on them. I like Wisconsin.
Isn't Green Bay's head coach Bo Ryan's son?
I think it might be, yeah.
You got to get a little worried about that. Are they going to embarrass Bo?
Yes, they are. I don't think that necessarily the players have any connection to Bo Ryan.
Guard does, though. He might put the scrubs in early.
What guard?
Greg
Oh,
Gard.
Greg Gard. Yeah, but I thought you were saying the guard. No, Greg Gard does, but yeah, okay, fine. Put the backups in. The backups are still going to fucking murder them. You can't just stop playing basketball and stop shooting. There's a shot clock.
Look at Missouri. Just fucking launching half-court
that was
shots.
fucking crazy. But I didn't want to give this out as my best bet, but I really like Dayton -5 today against UNLV. UNLV has very good guard play. They got a lot of transfers coming in, but
they're so inconsistent.
They're so inconsistent. If their guards just start draining threes and are hitting them in an unbelievable clip, it'll be a great game. But for the most part, we're gonna eat on the glass. We're gonna eat down low, and I think Dayton's gonna fucking kill UNLV in Vegas. 11 p.m. tip off.
I also think they can force McCabe into a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, I really think that our defense is just very good. We're a very balanced team. This is one thing that I think that if we can't get it done on the offensive end, we're going to get it done on the defensive end. And if we don't get it done on the defensive end, we get it done on the offensive end. We're a very balanced team. So
I don't hate that. All right, so my best bet, South Alabama plus 12.5. Your best bet, Wisconsin -27 and the hook, right?
Yep.
All right, so there we go. We'll take some chat questions. We have Bake SC 803. Can Gigi Jackson lead South Carolina to the tournament? No.
Yeah.
Flat out no. Gigi Jackson, really good, obviously. Really good. South Carolina, not good. They're just not. They're going to be the 11th or 12th best team in the SEC. You don't make the tournament as 11th or 12th best team in the SEC.
Nope. Allison Modi said third best game of the day is in West Lafayette.
Who does Purdue have today?
I think maybe Marquette.
Is that? I always forget the Gavitt games.
Yes, Marquette at Purdue.
That's not the third best game. I don't like Marquette a lot. I think Shaka Smart's really good at Marquette. I think he's made for these sort of programs, but they lost so much, man. You lose a Justin Lewis and guys like that, and you return. I think their leading returner was Tyler Kolak at 6 points a game. Yeah. And I love him. He's an asshole, and he sings country roads at the free throw line, and he gets pissed at media day when Marquette's picked 9th. But I don't know. Purdue shouldn't lose at home to mostly anybody, let alone Marquette this early in the season. You still have Zach Edey. I still
I like Painter. Purdue a lot.
I know Matt Painter catches heat for what he does in the tournament, but the dude's one of the best still one of the better coaches in the country.
But I'll tell you one thing. Purdue's offense is going to be unbelievable this year. Don't be surprised if they end up being a top 10 offense in the country, according to Ken Pom. I think the freshmen, Fletcher Lawyer and Braden Smith, are phenomenal. And then you still
Lawyer's really good.
Yes, very, very good. And then you still got First and Gillis, who I liked from last year. I really like Purdue. I'm not so sure I'm going to take them with the points or anything, but I think that is it's an intriguing team to look at throughout the year, because I think this is a team that Painter likes, where there's no egos. You don't have the hype with Jaden Ivey, Edey. There's no hype with this team.
You don't have to balance the Edey and Trevion Williams.
Exactly. I think this is going to go. I think that was a nightmare for Painter to deal with, personally. And I think this is going to get him right back to this type of mold of a team is going to be the perfect fit for him.
Craig says, what conference wins title first, Big Ten or Pac-12? I kind of think it's the Pac-12.
1,000%.
Arizona, UCLA are consistently now better than Big Ten. I think Tommy Lloyd and Mick Cronin, and again, I'm not saying I love either of these coaches, but they're recruiting at a decent level. Arizona was a 1 seed last year. We saw UCLA in the Final Four. I don't think the Big Ten is a national title contender this year. Dana Altman's got to get shit figured out at Oregon. The Big Ten, I don't know who's going to be the next title contender they have. Illinois?
Yeah, I think that I have this take that I think the Big Ten's got to go away from just having these slow big men that just
100%. You don't win with big.
It's not fit. It's not fit for the tournament.
No,
you're just getting run up and down. You need to be able to.
I
think you need to, and you also need to have your 5 that you have out there needs to be able to guard multiple positions. I'm not saying your center has to guard a point guard, but you need to have 6'7", 6'8" guys that can guard multiple positions.
I'm pretty sure I went back and looked. It's every national title team for 20 years has had guards drafted and or made the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. It's a guard tournament.
It's like the worst guard to win was like Marcus Teague in 2012.
Yeah.
And he was a 5-star McDonald's All-American who just happened to have Anthony Davis and Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and that group. But it's like, I don't know, everyone else is elite guards. So yeah, I agree. You need guards. Is it UConn's turn to step up as the top dog in the Big East following Jay Wright's departure? Maybe. I think the Big East is good. Like, I think Sean Miller and what he can do at Xavier, he's already had success here. He can recruit. We're seeing him already land recruits. I know people knock him for losing in the Elite Eight. Like, that's a bad thing. I think Xavier can step up. I think UConn can step up. I think Providence can consistently be a threat to win the league. I think Creighton can consistently be in the top half of the league. Seton Hall, we got to see what Sheen Holloway does there.
Butler
with Thad Matta is consistently a threat to finish in the top half of the league. I know they lost last night at Penn State. They just need shooting. And like, we'll see what happens like when Ali comes back. I don't know. I'm not ready to say UConn is set up to be the top dog. And that's not a knock on Hurley or anything, but it's like there's just too much competition in the Big East.
Let me just say something really quick. Is Kyle Neptune will still keep Villanova as a very good program, and there'll be a consistent flow.
Yeah.
I think.
Remember, they're not healthy yet.
And then second off, let's just like UConn used to dominate the Northeast, and like that was a Northeast New England program. Let me just say something. A lot has changed since UConn went to the AAC, and Ed Cooley is dominating that area. He stole a lot of transfers. He's dominating the portal the last 2 years. So Providence is a team where you're looking at like Ed Cooley, even in Jay Wright's peak, was right there with Villanova, playing in Big East championship games, taking Villanova down to the wire. So like Ed Cooley is like, it's not just a fluke last year. Ed Cooley has done this for a long time, and he's not going anywhere. So I don't think he's going to leave for a big time program. He already had like the Michigan on the table, didn't go there.
Yeah.
So I think that's just my 10 cents.
Yeah, I agree. It's just any chance Vermont can make things interesting against USC? Yeah, absolutely. USC lost to Florida Gulf Coast. There's not another Mobley brother coming through this year. Vermont runs kind of a catch and shoot offense based on dribble drive and catch and shoot. Dylan Penn is fucking awesome. John Becker, again,
Great
he's
coach.
my guy. John Becker, I go back to like high school. John Becker recruited me out of high school. So I know John Becker forever. I have a soft spot for the guy. He's a hell of a coach. He coached a team that's way more prestigious than Vermont and be very successful. So yeah, I think Vermont can keep it close. I know they're on the West Coast trip. They're coming off, I believe, an overtime loss earlier or on Sunday, I think it was. So yeah, but I still think they can keep it close. Fresh into watching the Champions Classic, all of them. Grady Dick, Cason Wallace, Chris Livingston, Kyle Filipowski, Lively, Mark Mitchell, who am I forgetting? Yeah, everyone. Illinois starting to change that since Kofi left. Coleman Hawkins and Danger are the big stretch backs. Yeah, that's Duke and I talked about this. I think the first episode I wrote in the blog. I like Illinois a lot.
Same.
Come tournament time, assuming Sky Clark stays healthy and looks like a 5-star that was going to go to Kentucky. Because again, you don't have to sit there and go, all right, Kofi, get down the floor. And like he was a decent rim running big for his size, but you don't have to sit there and be like, all right, sit your ass in the post. Let me feed it to you. Okay, now we can start initiating offense. It's why, like, I think they would have been better if Io was able to do more. And it's just like, it's the pros and cons of having an elite big.
No, it's also like when you're looking at Iowa with Garza, like, yeah, in the Big Ten play, you needed Garza to dominate against people like Kofi, like Hunter Dickinson. Like what Hunter's able to do, how he's able to extend the floor now and be a threat outside the perimeter, that does wonders for his game because you could beat up. You need a big man to win in Big Ten play. I understand that, but when it comes to tournament time, you don't need the big men to necessarily win.
No, and listen.
And that's look at Iowa last year. Iowa was better last year than they were 2 years ago with Garza. I'll go to the grave with that. They got cocky after the Big Ten tournament and slipped up against a shitty Richmond team. But I mean, good Lord, like they were so much better last year.
And not to mention, like, I don't want to mean winning conference regular seasons, but it doesn't matter as much anymore. Unbalanced schedules. People care way more about like the tournament. People care way more about the NCAA tournament. Unless you're the Big East or Big 12 where you play a true round robin, like, cool. I don't care as much about regular season champions because of the unbalanced schedule. Why is Louisville favored? Is App State that bad? Listen, App State's not great. I think this is going to be an ugly, ugly game. I don't trust App State shooting. App State's a decent 3-point defensive team. Louisville, I don't trust their shooting. I think Louisville can force enough turnovers, and also they're just desperate at this point. I mean, listen, my little brother, feel bad for you. Hire Kenny Payne. You hire Milt Wagner. DJ still goes to Kentucky because he wants to win, and he knows you don't win at Louisville. You lose the 2 mid-majors at home. Sad times, man. Sad times all around for little brother. Is this a daily show? No, it's every Tuesday, Thursday, 11 a.m., unless the week gets crazy. Like last week, obviously opening day Monday, best slate Friday. But Tuesday, Thursday is 11 a.m. Eastern. I'll do daily stuff, Twitter Spaces, and obviously outside the blog and all that stuff. So again, every Tuesday, Thursday, hit subscribe, hit retweet. Again, doing this on our own, so we can just try to make it grow and talk about games that we like. So that's the plan. Like we said, every about 30 to 45 minutes. So we'll wrap it up here. We're at the 41-minute mark. I'm excited. Like, it feels good to have big-time college basketball back in our life again, especially on a Tuesday. You're not overshadowed by, like, NFL. It's not going to get buried on a Friday where Saturday's college football, Sunday's NFL. It's feel like nobody talked about the Gonzaga-Michigan State game because of that. So it feels good. I'm looking forward to college football fans losing their shit that the Kentucky-Michigan State game won't end and they want to see the college football playoff rankings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the games tonight. I mean, I know that I'll be up till 1 a.m. watching college hoops because I got the 11 p.m. tip-off tonight with Dayton playing in Las Vegas.
It's worth it, though. Like,
yeah, it's like I like the grind. I like the feeling of being overwhelmed by games. Having a little heart attack when I miss something running the socials. So,
bro,
yeah.
I have 3 TVs and a laptop, and I'll sit there and be like, I don't have enough screens.
Yeah,
like I need something else. It's my complaint is like I don't want to jump from like input to my Fire Stick to run, to get to like the streaming app. Like, just put everything on TV so I can just sit there and click back and forth.
I kind of like I have the 6 TV set up in the office, and I have a 3 TV set up at home. And I kind of like the 3 TV setup better,
yes,
because I can concentrate more on the games and I can actually like get to know the teams better. When 6 games, I'm like all over the place. Like,
right, it's too much.
It's too much.
It's too much. All right, again, follow Dukes, follow me, follow Backdoor Cuts on Twitter. Every Tuesday, every Thursday, please subscribe. And we'll be back Thursday at 11 a.m. Because, again, this week is really the next couple weeks are loaded. We'll adjust next week. Obviously, Thursday is Thanksgiving. We won't do a Thanksgiving show. So we'll adjust next week. Maybe we'll do one just talking about future.
Let's talk Wednesday.
I want the Battle for Atlantis. Yeah,
exactly. I want to talk Battle for Atlantis because Dayton's going to come on with that fucking shit.
Yeah, you know. All right, Dukes. Have a good one. Again, we'll talk to everybody Thursday,
guys.
11 a.m. See ya.